and I'm gonna get a lot of too. But honestly, there could be the way where you put Crawford over.
You know, he coming behind his jab, he throwing straight punches, he going to the body, going in up and down. He just got to tighten up a little bit on his defense, but other than
he's basically saying, yeah, I'm gonna catch heat for this. And that's how you know it's real. Because in boxing, the most dangerous truth is the one people don't want spoken out loud. There is a way you can put Terence Crawford over. Picture it, Crawford stalking behind that jab like a metronome ticking down your life. Straight punches, splitting the guard, no wasted motion. Then he starts digging, body shots that don't look dramatic until your legs betray you in the 8th round. And the scary part? He's not just going down to the body, he's going up, 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 then right back down again. Levels, rhythm, punishment. But here's the controversy. They're admitting the only real question is his defense, not his chin, not his heart, not his IQ, just that small tighten up on the other side of the equation. And suddenly, he's not just winning fights, he's erasing opponents.
On the Mount Rushmore of
Hell
boxers?
Yeah. Yes. Fuck yeah.
Yeah?
3-time undisputed. He just beat Canelo.
Yeah.
The face of boxing. So now you can say Bud is the face of boxing.
Greatest of all time, or?
Greatest of all time.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it can never be one great, but he definitely one of the greatest of all.
Mount Rushmore. 3-time undisputed. Did he just beat Canelo, the face of boxing? That's not analysis, that's a grenade lobbed into boxing history. Because when you say a fighter is on the Mount Rushmore, you're not talking about right now, you're talking about immortality. Ali, Sugar Ray, Armstrong, Robinson, names that don't need explaining. And then comes the real heat. Now you can say, boy, is the face of boxing. That's a power grab. The face isn't just who's the best, it's who moves the sport, who carries the pressure, who sells the nights, who survives the spotlight. But here's where it gets messy and controversial. Statements like 3-time undisputed and beat Canelo sound like hype more than history, unless we're talking legacy in the making, not legacy already written. He tries to clean it up at the end. There can never be one great, but he's definitely one of the greatest. That's the safe landing after a reckless take.
Crawford, because, you know, he beat, he did something that I didn't think he was going to do. You know what I mean? He went and he beat Canelo. You know, that's 3 weight classes going up. You know what I mean? And he made it look pretty easy. So, yeah.
He's basically crowning Crawford off one moment. He did something I didn't think he was going to do. He went and beat Canelo, 3 weight classes up, and made it look easy. That's the kind of sentence that changes a fighter's orbit. Not pound-for-pound talk, legacy rewrite talk. But it's also exactly where the controversy lives. Because if you're claiming a guy jumped 3 divisions and handled the face of boxing pretty easy, you're not grading skills anymore. You're arguing for instant sainthood. You're telling every era, every champion, every Hall of Famer, move over. And the reason it hits so hard is the emotion underneath it. Disbelief, respect, that tone of, I didn't think he could do it. That's the moment fans fall in love, when a fighter forces even the doubters to salute.
Me the most was Crawford's ability to stay focused in the fight, and not only just to stay focused and box, but he also got rugged in there. You know what I mean? He started balling with him towards some late rounds. You know what I mean? That's something I appreciate in a fighter. You know what I mean? He was already up. He could have chose to just box, but he went in there and he tried to brawl with him in the last round. So that's really what impressed me. His heart more.
It was the moment Crawford had every reason to play it safe and refused. Because staying focused in a fight like that, that's not just concentration, that's survival. He's blocking, he's reading, he's managing the chaos, and then something flips in those late rounds. When most fighters protect the lead, Crawford starts getting rugged. He steps into the fire, he starts brawling, and that's where the controversy hits. If you're already up, why risk it? Why trade? Why give the other man a puncher's chance? Some people will call it stupidity, ego, unnecessary damage, but I'm telling you what it really looks like: control. A fighter so locked in, so sure of himself that he can choose to box and instead chooses to break you. Even in the last round, he's not running out the clock. He's following you down, trying to take something from your spirit. That's not just skill, that's heart.
You know, it's a good fight for both of them. Good fight for, I think it's more important for Crawford than anybody, you know, but I think if anybody could beat Canelo, I think Crawford could.
Yeah, I know you said like he could be the guy. What kind of a chance do you ultimately give him?
I think you give him like a 7 out of a 10.
Oh, wow, that high. I thought you were going to say like 25.
I mean, no,
just because of
Crawford
the
is
size.
good. Crawford is good. And
Of course.
I think he's been known that he's going to fight Canelo for a long, long time. And, you know, Crawford, he likes to pick up the weights. So I'm sure he's been working on the weights for a long, long time. So, you know, Crawford, when he has, with a person that has a big IQ like that, if you do enough weights, you know, and you stay working for a long time, you know, you have
He says it straight. It's more important for Crawford than anybody. Because if Crawford beats Canelo, it's not just a win, it's a hostile takeover of boxing's throne. And then comes the wildest part, the number. 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 to beat Canelo? That's not optimism, that's borderline heresy in a sport that usually treats size, power, and weight classes like laws of physics. Even the interviewer flinches. That high? I thought you'd say 25%. But the answer is cold and confident. Crawford is good. And the argument is dangerous. He's been thinking about Canelo for years. He's been lifting, building, preparing for a collision everyone else is too scared to even imagine. Add that to a fighter with a high IQ, and they're saying all he needs is one clean moment, a punch with purpose.
A lot of too, but honestly, there could be the way where you put Crawford over Mayweather.
Is it the undisputed?
Because of going up, you didn't see Mayweather go up from 147 to 168. That's crazy, bro. And not even, and honestly, I thought Crawford was gonna have more of a hard time because he had a hard time with Madronov. Yeah. So imagine going up to it. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, but I don't want to take nothing away from Mayweather. Mayweather is the greatest of all time. But I think that was a really big risk that Crawford took, and then he ended up winning, you know what I mean? So you have to give credit to that too. I mean, that's a big risk. That'd be like me going up and fighting Usyk right now. Heavyweight.
I know that's been kind of hinted.
I'm not thinking of that right now. I'm not thinking of that right now, no, but that's kind of like how that'd be. You know what I mean? So you have to, bro, that's a lot of, he has a lot of balls to do that. And not only to go do that to show the world that he's really like that.
There could be a way you put Crawford over Mayweather. That's not a casual take. That's boxing blasphemy. Because what's the argument? Not prettier defense, not a longer reign. It's something scarier. Audacity. The idea of a man from 147 even thinking about 168. A jump so violent it feels like you're asking the laws of the sport to bend. And he twists the knife. You didn't see Mayweather go from 147 to 168. Now, he tries to soften it. Mayweather is the greatest of all time, but listen to the tension. He's praising Floyd with one breath and building a case to replace him with the next. And then he admits the doubt. Crawford had a hard night before, so imagine going up. That's what makes it cinematic. The risk, the possibility of getting crushed, and he lands the most ruthless analogy imaginable. That'd be like me fighting Usyk at heavyweight. He's saying Crawford didn't just take a fight, he took a leap meant to terrify everybody watching.
Happy that he lost. I kind of felt like that could have been me. That was my moment. You know what I mean? If I would have gone in there, I know I would have beat him. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be a hater, but that's kind of how I feel. But you know what I mean? I give all the flowers to Crawford. You know what I mean?
That should have been me in there. That should have been my.
If I would have got that fight, I would have been me. I would have been the one getting my hand raised. But like I said, it didn't happen, and that's why it didn't happen, because Canelo knows.
He says he's not happy he lost, then catches himself. Because it's not really about Crawford winning. It's about the nightmare in his own head. That could have been me. In boxing, that's the most dangerous sentence a fighter can say, because it turns another man's victory into your personal funeral. And then he goes even further. He doesn't just believe he could have competed. He says flat out, if I would have gotten in there, I know I would have beaten him. That's not confidence. That's a claim of destiny. A rewrite of history that never happened.
But the real controversy? The last line. He implies Canelo knew. He implies Canelo avoided. That's the kind of talk that starts feuds, sells pay-per-views, and gets you called delusional if you can't back it up.
I think Crawford took it way more serious than Canelo, which is kind of weird because, you know, the amount of money that Canelo was making. And I know all these people say, oh, yeah, you know, talking shit about Canelo. I'm not talking shit about him. He just didn't look like he really prepared 100%. He's throwing 10 punches around. Or I think it was his ego is that big that he thought that, oh, I'm just going to walk through him, catch him with a good shot, and it's going to be done. As you can see, Crawford is a different type of fighter. Not only has he had the boxing IQ, he has that dog in him. He was in there. He was brawling with Canelo like in the 8th, 9th, getting the best out of him. Boxing, he's epitome of a great boxer. There's a lot of lessons to be learned in that fight. You know what I mean? If you really want to make something come true and you really believe it, you can make it come true. And then the other lesson is don't let your ego get the best out of you. And don't think that you don't have to prepare because you're a bigger fighter. You know what I mean? That's your
He's saying Crawford took it like a life or death mission, while Canelo, with all that money and all that status, looked like he trained at 80%. 10 punches around? If that's even close to true, that's not a bad night. That's a mindset problem. And then comes the real controversial jab, ego. The claim is Canelo thought he could just walk through him, catch him with one big shot and end the story. That's the oldest trap in boxing, believing size and reputation are substitutes for preparation. But Crawford, he's being painted as something different. Not just IQ, not just technique. The speaker keeps coming back to it. That dog. The willingness to brawl late, to bite down, to prove a point even when it's risky. And that's why this stings. It turns the fight into a moral lesson. Believe hard enough and you can make it real. But let your ego write checks your conditioning can't cash, and the sport will humble you on camera.
Do you still make 168? Is that a possibility?
Honestly, bro, my plan is after this fight, I want to go down to 154. Nah, bro. I'm done with cruiserweight. You know, I want to take this opportunity though. Yes, I say cruiserweight. I want to take this opportunity to, you know, congratulate Crawford. You know, he put a hell of a performance. He's up there in the Mount Rushmore of the greatest fighters of all time. And, you know, let Crawford do his thing, bro. You know, at the end of the day, I have no interest in fighting Crawford. I have no interest in going down to 168. I mean, yeah, it's nice that it would be dope winning all titles, but I'm way past that at 168. You know, I would found the only reason I wouldn't even go down to 168 for Canelo. And I'm just being real with you, you know, and let Crawford do his thing. Let him have his, let him, I want to give his flowers, man, because he's a great fighter, man. When there's no other fighter that's coming up from 147 to beat a type of fighter like Canelo at 168, you know, when Crawford, you know, he's one of the greatest of all time. So, you know, I have no interest in going down to 168. I'm not saying that I'm scared of Crawford or whatever, you know, but Crawford's a man at 168. That's his weight.
When the camera asked, could you still make 168? You can hear the room lean in. And then he laughs. Not because it's funny, because it's uncomfortable. My plan? After this fight, I want to go down to 154. Think about that. A man saying he's done with cruiserweight and talking about dropping all the way to 154 like it's just a decision. That's not a weight cut. That's a whole identity change. But then he swerves into something that sounds like respect and also like retreat. He gives Crawford the flowers. Hell of a performance. Mount Rushmore, one of the greatest ever. And he keeps repeating it. Let Crawford do his thing. Let him have the moment. Then the line that sparks the argument. I have no interest in fighting Crawford. No interest in going down to 168. He insists it's not fear, but he admits the truth underneath it. Crawford is the man at 168. That's his territory now.
Fight luck with Benavidez. Who do you favor?
I still got it at 50-50. Benavidez is good, but Canelo is, you know what I mean, great. we just gotta see the fight, man. We all want to see the fight.
Do you think he gets him to the body? Because Booba was landing a lot of body shots.
I don't know. That's why I said we gotta watch the fight. You know what I mean? It's a different style, different type of fighter. You got two strong fighters going head to head.
Is Canelo the only 68U fighter? Would you consider a Benavidez?
Yeah, Canelo.
This right here, this is the kind of quote that sounds casual until you realize it's a setup for war. It's another fight, we're better. And then, boom, he hits you with the contradiction. I still got it 50-50. That's not confidence, that's a confession. Because if it's really we're better, you don't call it a coin flip unless you felt something you don't want to say out loud. He admits it. Bonita is good, but Canelo is great. And that's the poison pill in boxing, when great starts believing it's automatic. Because this isn't a highlight reel matchup. This is style versus style, strength versus strength. Two men who can take your breath away with one exchange or one body shot. And when they ask, does he get him to the body? He won't bite. He knows better. He knows body work isn't a theory. It's a tax you pay in the late rounds when your hands slow down and your pride starts making decisions for you. Then the most controversial line of all, Canelo the only one. At 168, he's saying Canelo is the only name that matters, the only scalp worth chasing. The rest are just noise.
Ready to fight. We've been in talks fighting Surdo Ramirez for his belts at cruiserweight. So we're already in talks of that, you know, and then that's definitely a fight that has to happen because I used to spar him when I was 18 years old. All the way, you know, I sparred him a lot. So I know that's a pay-per-view fight. So it was a pay-per-view sparring session for the fights. Even the fight is going to be, you know, way better. But yeah, definitely. That's in my sights. You know, I definitely want to go up to cruiserweight. You know, I want to be a reigning defending champion at light heavyweight and then make my way up.
He's saying the quiet part out loud. They're already in talks to fight Zurdo Ramirez for cruiserweight belts. Not one day, not maybe. In his mind, it's lined up, locked in, inevitable. And then he drops the detail that makes this personal. I used to spar him when I was 18. Years of rounds, thousands of punches, 2 careers running on parallel tracks, and now one of them is about to cash in all that history under the bright lights. He even calls those sparring sessions pay-per-view. That's either the coldest confidence or the most dangerous arrogance. Because sparring doesn't count the same when the crowd is screaming, when the belts are on the line, when fatigue makes cowards out of proud men. And notice the blueprint. Reign at light heavyweight, then march up to cruiserweight. That's ambition. That's risk. That's a man trying to become a reigning defending champ before he dares to get heavier. And people will argue whether that's smart legacy building or calculated avoidance of landmines at 175.
That's right.
That's cheating.
I love it.
That is cheating.
That's a heel turn. You both.
That is heel.
That's a heel turn.
I love it. You got five.
Now here's the thing. Here's the thing. Roy at his peak. Just remember this. If Roy would have retired after the Ruiz fight, he would have replaced Sugar Ray Robinson as the greatest fighter of all time. I agree. Right? But he didn't, and the rest of that stuff is in there, right? Yeah. So I get it. But Roy at his peak, I think, had a higher peak than anyone on this list. I agree. Okay, Manny Pacquiao, we've all said it a million times. I think he is, outside of Sugar Ray Robinson, I have Manny Pacquiao's second greatest pound-for-pound fighter ever. Floyd Mayweather never lost. And did he cherry-pick when and where? Yes. But guys, from 130, 135, he cleaned out 135. He beat the best guy at 130, beat the best guy at 135. Yes, did he pick and choose at 140, 47, and 54? Yeah, but he won all those fights. That's right. And he beat a lot of good fighters. And more than that, put Floyd at his best with anyone through history.
He says, I put 5. Yeah, that's cheating. Because when you're building an all-time list, somebody always gets robbed. Somebody always gets disrespected. And then he drops the first bomb, Roy Jones Jr. He claims if Roy retired right after the Ruiz fight, right after doing the unthinkable, Roy doesn't just enter the GOAT conversation. He replaces Sugar Ray Robinson. That's how high Roy's peak was. A peak so violent, so untouchable, it makes the rest of his career feel like a tragedy written after the credits should have rolled. Then he pivots to Manny Pacquiao, calling him, outside of Robinson, the second greatest pound-for-pound ever. 8 divisions, chaos, greatness built on risk,
not safety. And then comes the most controversial truth in the whole quote. Floyd never lost, and yes, he cherry-picked. Timing, weight, conditions, Floyd played the game like a grandmaster, but he still cleaned out 135, beat elite fighters, and at his best, the speaker says you don't know who beats him in history.